Why are you here then, Anne? I mean, what?
Excuse me, if you would like to arrange to talk properly, I would
Excuse me.
appreciate that.
Excuse me.
Okay?
That's vandalism. Get
No,
your
it's
hands off the
not.
camera. David Menzies for Rebel News here in Ottawa. Well, I'm standing in front of the National War Memorial. It is an absolutely gorgeous memorial commemorating the thousands and thousands of Canadians that made the ultimate sacrifice in so many of the wars and conflicts that Canada has been involved with over the last 150 years. But these days, well, there's something else at the War Memorial, namely, as you can see behind me, folks, there are tents propping up. Evidently, this is the work of Extinction Rebellion. They're the climate crusaders. Supposedly, the person who wants to be Canada's Greta Thunberg, Anne Cognito, not her real name, she's the ringleader here. She supposedly rode a bicycle from Calgary to Ottawa to demand a meeting with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, and she says that she isn't going to go away until she gets that meeting. Too bad she didn't go to Costa Rica. I think she'd be in arm's reach of the PM if she had done that. But in any event, I'm going to attempt to speak with Anne and any of her supporters here and see what this protest, what this illegal occupation of public land is all about. You must be Tanya then, right?
I go by Anne.
Oh, right, Anne Cognito. What's the deal? Is that a play on words or?
On?
Yes, I'm David.
It's kind of unethical to ambush somebody.
Oh, well, I'm telling you who I am.
I had no idea you were coming. I had no idea this was running. This is really unfair.
But you say this is unethical, but you're occupying a war memorial site.
Yes, and every vet who's come by here supports it tremendously, very much. Thank you. And you know what else? They don't come along and ambush people and stick cameras and microphones in their face with no warning.
Well, here, why are you here then, Anne? I mean, what?
Excuse me, if you would like to arrange to talk properly, I would appreciate that.
Excuse me.
Okay?
That's vandalism. Get
No,
your
it's
hands off the
not.
camera.
I'm just taking
You
it
are
off my
illegally
face.
occupying a
No,
public
actually,
square.
I'm within my rights here.
Well, folks, I think that's the textbook definition of the Yiddish word chutzpah, sheer unmitigated gall. I mean, here we have people illegally occupying a public square that is meant to display a war memorial showing the more than 100,000 Canadian men that gave their lives in the 2 world wars, not to mention thousands others in other wars and conflicts, so that people like Tanya Bucknor, aka Anne Cognito, could exercise her rights for freedom of expression. But she thought me coming here asking questions was rude. I mean, I didn't intrude in her tent. I'm merely outside her tent, and let's be honest, who's intruding where? It's these people on land that does not belong to them, and they are only here by the lack of political will that's guiding law enforcement to shut down what is now becoming a tent city. You know, folks, the sign beside me says, "Tell the truth." I'm so curious what the truth is, at least the truth in the eyes of Anne Cognito. I mean, I've already told you she wants Canada to be zero net emissions by 2025, which is a ludicrous deadline, if at all it's possible to begin with. Secondly, a lot of people would argue, especially in that part of Canada where Anne is from, Calgary, that this current federal government has done enough damage in terms of virtue signaling on the climate file as it stands. What with preventing pipeline construction and implementing the carbon tax, there are parts of this country, and I'm thinking Western Canada, that are sorely hurting due to these so-called climate initiative policies. Is that part of her truth? Does she want more economic misery for Canadians? I sure wish she'd come out of her tent. Maybe if I wait long enough. You see, because one of the questions, folks, I want to ask her is, where do you go to the bathroom? I mean, this square is so beautiful. It's such a gorgeous monument to the war dead, those who made the ultimate sacrifice, and yet it's been taken over and turned into basically a mini filthy shanty town. In the words of Greta Thunberg, how dare you? How dare you? Oh, hi, ma'am. Are you one of the squatters here?
Squatters? Who are you with?
I'm David Menzies with Rebel News. Oh, why is that?
We don't want to speak to you.
And the reason for that is?
We don't want to speak to you. We have no comment.
Okay, but you're squatting in a public park illegally with signage. That would seem to me that you're trying to get a message out. What is that message, ma'am? I take it you're with Extinction Rebellion.
Please leave.
Aren't you able to articulate yourself, ma'am? Oh, sorry, I can barely hear you, and we're sort of talking between vinyl or plastic tarp made by the oil sands. But anyways, what were you trying to say?
The electricity powers the Christmas lights that the city put up. We don't use that electricity.
Oh, you're not using any of that electricity.
You can follow all the cords if you like.
Well, you know what? Thank you for correcting that. This is why I'd like to...
Please don't speak to them.
Oh. Does this... We're fascists. You know, that's kind of ironic given that you're in front of a war memorial in which thousands of men gave their lives fighting fascism, ma'am.
Please back off.
Is this your property, ma'am?
It's my property.
I'm happy for you to film me. I don't mind. Absolutely. Yeah, you know. See, you people are illegally occupying a public square, and you're telling me to back off. Don't you find some perverse irony there? I'm just curious, sir, do you have any thoughts on what these people are doing?
Well, I'm not a big believer in man-made climate change, so I'm not a big supporter of what they're doing. I think they have the right to do it, right? Obviously, as a Canadian, but I think that there's more important priorities in our country.
I would suggest that if you or I or any other normal citizen pitched a tent here, law enforcement would remove us. There's even signage here saying that this area is closed. Why do you think nothing is being done with these people who have been squatting here for weeks?
Well, I think when you have Justin Trudeau in charge, but even preceding him, I think if you're a leftist, you get a pass on a lot of illegal, things. So I think that's probably the key. And I think that people don't have the courage to stand up to people and to force them or encourage them to do what's right and to follow the rule of law that we have in this country.
Now, here's another interesting thing, folks. Since Ann Cognito, a.k.a. Tanya Bucknor, wouldn't come out of her tent to speak with me, I thought I'd walk over to the other tents and see if the occupants in those tents would come out and speak with me. But guess what? I don't think they're occupied. In fact, I'm pretty sure there's nobody in those tents. And this is eerily reminiscent of, circa 2012 in Toronto when the Occupy movement occupied St. James Park, turned it into a filthy tent city. Well, our Commander-in-Chief, Ezra Levent, he went out there with our pal Joe Warmington of The Sun and really got the scoop of the year using an infrared camera, proved that the majority of tents were empty. There was no heat signature at night. It looks like the social justice warriors of that year found the cold a little too much for them, so they were shacked up at the Holiday Inn across the street. And I'm wondering if that's the case here. We have the Chateau Laurier behind me, as you can see, beautiful hotel. And then behind me still is the Westin. And so is this all pomp and circumstance? Is this just a show protest that these people are talking the talk but not walking the walk? They're not really making a sacrifice of spending days and weeks in the Ottawa cold demanding climate change? Looks like it to me. Well, folks, as you saw, it's a bit of a waste of time trying to speak to people with Extinction Rebellion, including Anne from Calgary. They simply cannot articulate the reason why they are occupying this site. And there's multiple layers of perverse irony here. First of all is the fact that they make use of the products gleaned from the petrochemical industry while dumping on it. And here they are in front of this glorious, beautiful war memorial for honoring the thousands and thousands of Canadians who made the ultimate sacrifice in the wars Canada has been involved with. This isn't really about climate change or the environment or global warming. This is all about having a ideological reset, rejecting Western culture and Western values and all that stands for. Yeah, it begins to dawn on me the more I talk to these people in the Green movement that really these are just rebranded agents of the Red movement. For the Rebel News, I'm David the Menzoid Menzies. Hey folks, if you like the kind of news coverage we bring you here at The Rebel every day, please go to premium.rebelnews.com. That's premium.rebelnews.com. Sign up and never miss another Rebel News story.